You know, Coach Jack Daniels at the Boxers Training Channel. And good evening, people. Look, it's a beautiful day, and it's also a lovely day to talk about some boxing, even though the subject matter of the conversation is centered around Desert Storm, meaning Timothy Bradley, once known in the boxing world as Desert Storm, right? I got a problem with Timothy Bradley, right? Of late, he's been talking about gang, negativity in regards to Devin the Dream Haney, right? In the sense that Brian Norman Jr., which incidentally, might I add, signed the contract to fight Devin Haney in November, excuse me, Riyadh season. Now, the time and the location hasn't been uh, made itself available yet, but we're looking out for it. But the thing today that's most important to me is how in the HELL can Timothy Bradley make all these assessments about Devin Haney and his ability to get in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. without running around, being evasive, and not boxing Brian Norman Jr., right? And so he has made a lot of comments in regards to what Brian Norman should do in order to be efficient enough to get at Devin Haney in the ring, right? So Timothy Bradley suggests that Brian Norman Jr., excuse me, gets some chickens, right? And that's a thing that boxers do that are trying to um, be really, really efficient on their feet, with their feet work, that, right? They'll get some chickens, right? And they'll some chickens, chase chickens, rather. See, that notion came from Rocky, right? The Rocky story with Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone in that movie Chase Chickens, right? At first, he couldn't catch them, and at the end of the training session, he was catching the chicken, right? And so I believe that that's where Timothy Bradley got that notion. But I'm just trying to say, and I'm trying to say, in all fairness to Devin the Dream Haney, right, that this is all the narrative of that thought that centers around the narrative that Devin Haney got um, I want to use the term whooped by Brian Garcia to the point where he's no longer capable of boxing. And Timothy Bradley uses the Jose Garcia fight that displayed Devin Haney doing a lot of footwork. Right now, a lot of people say that was running, right, but an expert in the art of boxing, not fighting, boxing, right, would say otherwise, right? I thought that was a dazzling display of boxing, me, right? Because seriously speaking, that was the way that I was taught to box, right? Hit and not get hit. And the only way you're gonna do that is move around the ring, right? Pop, you know what I'm saying? I'm getting out the way, right? That's the way boxers get out, right? Now the notion that he right now, man, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, then again, I mean, who am I to say who knows boxing, who don't, right? Those that really believe that running around the ring, just running around the ring is running, right? Uh, as opposed to floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, right? Hit and not get hit, right? Two different concepts, right? They would say that, right? But I happen to be from the old school of float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, the Muhammad Ali era, right? So I don't see things like Timothy Bradley. You know what I'm saying? Timothy Bradley believes that Devin Haney is a shot fighter, right? Now, I am not concerned about Devin Haney being a shot fighter. Because if Devin Haney had enough heart and enough gall to get in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. after what Brian Norman Jr. did to Jin Sasaki, right? Knocked him out, I think it was the fifth round. I mean, the knockout is subject to knockout of the year. It was that type of knockout, right? But if you really know Devin Haney, you know what I mean? If you really know how the Haneys function, how they think, right? Timothy Bradley wouldn't be saying that because what he is really doing is fueling fuel to the fire for Devin Haney, right? Devin Haney, all this information that Devin Haney is receiving in regard to how people think about how he is uh, going into all the smoke with people like Brian Norman Jr., right? I know that. Okay, I'm gonna say it like this: as a boxer, as an ex-boxer, right? When people, would question my abilities, right? I wouldn't even counter. I wouldn't even counter. I wouldn't say nothing to him. I'd probably just smile, right? But psychologically, you know what I mean? I would filter all that information, right, and get in the gym, you know what I'm saying, and work my tail off, right? Till I got efficient enough to believe that dude can't touch me. And that's what boxing about, right? When you're talking about running and versus boxing, man, look, Devin Haney boxed Jose Romero 12 rounds. You know what I'm saying? 12 rounds. And at the end of those, he wasn't even tired. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? You do what you have to do in order to get the win. Devin Haney is 32-0, right? Contrary to the fact that there's an asterisk behind that nonsense with Ryan Garcia because Ryan Garcia was high off Austrian, right? And there was us in regards to that loss, but that loss is overturned. We know the history about that. That's not the issue. The issue is Timothy Bradley. Now, I haven't. This is not the first time that I've had conversation with Timothy Bradley about different fighters with Devin Haney, right? And as memory serves me correct, now the records will reflect. I got this guy. I'm not gonna. I'm not going to even entertain people believing that I'm just here talking and not having nothing to back it up with. I'm not. What I'm saying is I'm not going to go back through the records. But if you choose to go back through my videos, you will find several videos where I have had problems with Timothy Bradley, not only with Devin Haney, right, with the win-loss ratio with different boxers, right, and of date, Timothy Bradley is fighting zero with me. You know what I mean? I mean, what I'm saying is that every fight he says one thing and I said another, I win. So that's saying one thing. But the way Timothy Bradley is dogging Devin the Dream Haney, right? It's just crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? You can almost see a little resentment there, a little hatefulness there. You know what I mean? But where it's coming from? Where is it coming from? You know what I mean? I mean, to be at one time a world class boxer as Timothy Bradley, Desert Storm was, right? You would think that the way that he would change the way that he critiques world class boxers. Devin Haney has did everything necessary to be considered as one of the best boxers on the planet. You know what I mean? At what 20, 23, 24, undisputed first in the four belt era, two division world champion at 140 pounds, 135 pounds. Well, I mean, come on, man. The guy don't get no credit. You know what I mean? I mean, if Timothy Bradley is doing this, making all this unnecessary noise, right? Then in order to build his stats up, his YouTube stats up, then that's another thing, right? I can understand that. I ain't got no problem with that. But it doesn't appear that that's the case. It appears that Timothy Bradley actually dislikes Bill and Devin Haney. I mean, where else would that energy come from other than hatefulness or dislike? I'm just saying, man, for y'all that follow Timothy Bradley, man, and I'm quite sure that most of the people that follow Timothy Bradley are haters of Devin and Bill Haney, the Haneys. You know what I'm saying? Pretty soon you'll hear Timothy Bradley talking about Sean Haney, right? Sean Haney is a Haney. You know what I mean? And I know them cats, man. I know the Haneys, right? I know Bill because you know what I mean. I deal with Bill, right? I mean, it's safe to say that I believe that Bill's one of my best friends, right? And in this world, we don't have best friends, right? I mean, matter of fact, it's safe to say that that's the first time I've used that term on this podcast, friends. You know what I mean? Because it's just not really um, within the realm of good sense to, you know what I mean, have a bunch of people acting as your friend when in reality most people don't know how to be friends, right? I mean, I hate to say that, especially when it comes to my people, right? They don't know how to trust one another and be friends to one another. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's a trained behavior. You know who did it. So I ain't gonna go off into that. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, um, it specifically goes to Tim Bradley. Instead of, you know, tearing one another down, right? How about, you know what I'm saying, uplift? How about saying some good things, right? I mean, what? Because you a boxer, you gotta do this. You ain't gotta do nothing. Timothy Bradley, you ain't gotta do that, man. You do that because you like to do that. You like to, you know, what I'm saying, to destroy the reputation of a good black man. Devin the Dream Haney, in my highly educated boxing and otherwise opinion, right, is a good kid. You know what I mean? Good young man, no disrespect intended, right? But um, we need to get a little better with our behavior, Timothy Bradley, when it comes to critiquing our people, man, especially decorated champions. That being said, man, hit that subscription button, hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, and let me know if y'all think about what y'all think about Timothy Bradley. I ain't gonna give you uh, an explanation on what, right? I'm gonna leave that up to y'all. But I think that Timothy Bradley is ooey screwy. I'm gone.